Well, one Chinese smartphone company making waves on the global market, which we'll be talking about more with Karina Huber later. I believe that you're going to have a guest tell us a little bit more about what's going on.
That's right. And we're also joined by Bob O'Donnell, who is the president of TECHnalysis Research. He's here to join us to tell us more about all the details today. First thing, were you impressed by the foldable phone?
I was. I mean, we've been hearing about a foldable phone from Samsung for a long time, but to actually see it function and operate, I tell you, it gave me some serious gadget lust. I mean, it's the kind of product, yes, that very expensive, not everybody can afford it, but really, I think it gives some excitement to the market, right? I mean, it's been a pretty moribund smartphone market. People are kind of tired of just these minor innovations. That is a radically different device, and I think it's going to get a lot of people excited about the category. And the good thing that Samsung did is it's not just about a folding screen, right? Royale did a folding screen first, but Samsung really emphasized the software experience. You mentioned, you know, the 3 apps multitasking, what they called app continuity, the ability to start out on one screen, fold it open, and see the much larger screen. That's going to make the experience, hopefully, of using the device really slick and interesting and different. So for gadget folks who've got the money, who can afford it, I think this is going to be the device to have.
That's the thing. It looks cool and everything. It looks like it's working properly and seamlessly, but is somebody willing to shell out nearly $2,000 to buy that? What type of customer would want that?
Well, look, obviously it's going to be a very high-end customer, but you know, they might steal some customers from Apple who are looking for something fresh and for something different. And you know, there are a lot of gadget folks who are going to say, well, look, I can replace both a tablet and a smartphone, and that's how I justify that price point. And oh, by the way, be the first on the block to have this cool thing, which I think is going to be a pretty distinctive design probably for some time.
A lot of talk in the industry for the past year that there are no new, fresh ideas in the smartphone industry. Did this event disprove that?
I think Samsung did do a pretty good job of that. I mean, the big trends for this year in phones were going to be 5G and foldable, and here we saw them both. You know, I think ultimately foldable is going to be a more revolutionary impact because it changes the nature of how you use the device. But we also know that 5G is coming, and it's going to be an important trend. You know, the network service may be a little expensive in different parts of the world, and availability will be different in different parts of the world, but those are the big trends. Are they those two things going to change the marketplace and turn it back to the positive? I don't think so, I'll be honest with you. But at least now we have something to look forward to, something that's going to make people go, wow, this is different. You know, gives me something to think about.
Is it getting harder to motivate people to upgrade to a new phone?
It clearly is, right? I mean, if you look at the numbers that are coming out, research I've done as well, people are holding on to their devices for longer periods of time because A, the devices they have are good enough, and B, the next generation is only modestly improved on the first. So when you have something that's radically different, I think people are going to be willing to say, hey, wait a minute, this is cool. And you know, you have to imagine, the other thing is, you know, there'll eventually be probably a Galaxy Fold 2 or whatever they call it, and 3, and those will be cheaper, right? So this is sort of setting that bar to say, here's where we start, you know, and then you start to see that technology trickle down. My guess is that's what we'll see happen over the next couple of years, not just from Samsung, but from others as well.
Samsung snuck in a 5G phone right near the end of the event. That's a big deal, but they didn't have many details. In my opinion, it seemed like they just wanted to get it out there that they're one of the first. Do we have any substance to what this 5G phone is going to be?
Well, you bring up a good point, Mark. And, you know, it's kind of funny that there was so much going on that the 5G news, which theoretically should be some of the biggest news, was almost buried because there was so much else going on. And, you know, the reality is the 5G networks around the world, here in the U.S., in China, and other places, they're just starting to get built up. We'll see more network coverage for 5G the last half of 2019, and then, of course, much more in 2020. So these are definitely early days, again, for people who want to have the cool new technology. But, you know, in my mind, the question mark is, what are the carriers going to charge for that service? A lot of people believe they're going to charge more because it's new and different and faster. And so then you have to balance off what will likely be a more expensive phone along with a more expensive service. So we'll see what happens.
What have we not seen from Samsung today, and what are some things that we should be looking for? I mean, it's hard to imagine, but what else is beyond this, the technology that they're gearing up for?
Well, hardware-wise, I think they did a great job. The real question that's moving forward is going to be around software and services. This is where Apple still, I think, has an advantage because they have so many services that come bundled with an iPhone. Samsung's getting there. I will say I was impressed with the two software bundles they announced today, the Instagram camera bundle, or feature I should say, that's in the S10s, the regular S10s, because a lot of people I think are going to really like that, millennials in particular who are heavy Instagram users. And then the Adobe Rush video editing software that lets you edit your videos right on your phone without having to go to a PC or Mac. I think that's a big deal as well. So Samsung is getting more aggressive about that, and I think we'll start to see them do more, but that's the one thing I think we have to look more from Samsung in the future.
Samsung or Apple, who's leading the race right now in technology?
Hardware-wise, there's no question that Samsung's got the lead, and I think they're going to have the lead for quite some time. Some of the stuff they did was incremental versus Apple, but other things were a much bigger leap. Like Apple's widely expected to offer the charging, you know, on the back of the phone in the next generation. They'll probably have some camera advancements, but they're not going to have 5G because of the issues with Qualcomm. Qualcomm makes the only 5G modem that you can actually get now. That's what Samsung is using. Apple, of course, having this dispute with Qualcomm, isn't going to have that till at least the fall of 2020, and there's no rumors at all in the supply chain of Apple developing a foldable phone. So they probably have at least a year and a half, if not 2 years advantage on that front as well.
Bob, thanks for joining us. That's Bob O'Donnell, the president of TECHnalysis Research, joining us to talk about 5G and right now how Samsung is ahead in hardware, but Apple in services. Rochelle.